Hi, my name is Malcolm Short, Technical Support Manager for Scheffler Automotive Aftermarket. Today I want to talk about FAG wheel bearings. Vehicle manufacturers are using a range of wheel bearings today. Generation 1, fairly simple bearing but quite difficult to fit. Generation 2 bearings, where we actually fit the bearing to the drive flange. And then Generation 3 bearings, which are a complete bolt-on unit, nice and easy to fit. When fitting the first generation bearings, there's a few important tips you need to remember. Firstly, when fitting a Gen 1 bearing, you have to remember that the outer race will take on the shape of the hub you're pressing it into. So if it's oval, maybe because of accident damage, then you may want to measure the hub just to make sure it's still round. Secondly, a lot of ABS systems today use encoders within the bearing. You need to make sure you're pressing the bearing in the correct way. All of our kits have instructions in with different coloured seals, but you can use a detector card if you want to make sure. In this case, the encoder goes towards the inside of the vehicle. When you're pushing the bearing into the hub, you need an appropriate sized tool pushing on the outer race. You must never push any load through the balls in the bearing. After pressing the bearing into the hub, you need to push the complete assembly onto the drive flange. So you would turn it over. I'll remove the hub so you can see, but you need to use an appropriate sized tool that sits on the inner race only, preventing any load going through those ball bearings. The final thing on Gen 1 bearings is that they usually have a split inner race. So it's vitally important that the correct clamp load is applied to the bearing so it runs at its optimal running clearance. Now the clamp load is set on the bearing by the drive shaft bolt or nut torque, so it's vitally important that they are torqued up correctly. With the Generation 2 bearing, we've fitted the bearing to the drive flange already. But that complicates things, because if you're trying to press that into a hub, you have to push on the inner race, so you're transmitting the load through the ball bearings. And in this particular example, we have a snap ring that locates the bearing into the hub. If you were to press it in, that snap ring wouldn't be correctly located. The way to fit this type of bearing is to use a fitting collar that sits above the snap ring and pushes on the outer race. After you've bolted the collar together, you pull the bearing into the hub through the drive flange holes, and you can pull that in while it's still fitted to the vehicle. Generation 3 bearings, the easiest to fit. After removing the ABS sensor support device, it's a bolt-on unit. Applying the correct torque values, just make sure when it's fitted that you haven't crimped the ABS sensor cable. That concludes our presentation on FAG wheel bearings. Thanks for watching.